fiscal policy. Okay, so we'll have a quick revision of that. Okay, fiscal policy. So again, before I start it, I'll say that every year you will find one question from this. Okay, one question from this. So I can predict subtopic here. Okay, but from any subtopic they can give you a question. So number one. So पहला जो subtopic है, or you can say subtopic 1, we'll talk about. You must know that in budget there are two components, that is receipts and expenditure. Receipts and expenditure. So basically receipts, if I talk about receipts, receipts are further, so some used to say receipts. So in my class when I teach, so people used to say receipts. So I call them, it is not receipts, it is receipts. Okay, but as an Indian we can have a mistake also, okay, or allowed to do mistake. So ultimately in receipts there are two components, revenue receipt and capital receipt. So this you must know. Similarly in expenditure, there are two things, that is revenue expenditure and capital expenditure. Okay, now what UPSC used to do, UPSC used to ask you what it further includes. Okay, so whatever items are there, you must know it. Okay, so you can check previous year questions also. So many times they have asked you which of the following is or are part of revenue receipt, which of the following is or are part of capital receipt, which of the following is or are part of revenue expenditure, and which of the following is or are part of capital expenditure. So whatever items are there, okay, so you must know is it there or not. So accordingly you have to find the, you can say you can find the answer. So if you know the items you will easily find out. So हम एक एक करके सबको देखते हैं. Now when I talk about revenue receipts, so it further include tax revenue and non-tax revenue. Okay, so when I am saying tax revenue, what does it mean? Here you are including direct tax and indirect tax. So direct tax, you know, income tax, corporate tax. Indirect tax, best example is GST. Okay, non-tax revenue includes your fees and fines. So whatever, when you appear for UPSC, or you can say whenever notification of UPSC is there, so you used to give, you can say fees, like for some it is exempted, but some has to give the fees. Okay, so whatever fees you give, okay, that becomes the part of so whatever fees you give, that becomes a part of non-tax revenue. So 100 rupee fee that you used to give is a part of non-tax revenue. So this is what you have to remember. Okay, similarly if you break any law or violate any law or rules or regulations, so you have to give fines also. Second, user pay charges. So whenever you use any services of the government, for example you are taking or you went to any museum, so you pay the ticket, so their user pay charges are also there. When you travel through metro, so you pay user pay charges. Even when you get your bills also, electricity bill, water bill, so there one charge, they used to charge you user pay charges. So ultimately that becomes a part of this non-tax revenue. Third, dividends and profits. Okay, dividends and profits. Okay, when it comes to dividend and profits, so you know that government has, you can say, invested money in PSUs. So from PSUs government is receiving dividends and profit. So you have to, or you must know that also. Okay, you must know that also, dividend and profit. Number 4. Okay, number 4, when it comes to, you can say, another item. So can anyone tell me? So you know that government used to give loans also to state government or to another states, or you can say countries, to another countries. So whatever loan has been given, government receive interest over that. So interest received. And similarly, last is grants received by the government of India. Okay, so whenever you go to any relative house, okay, whenever you go to any relative house, okay, so they give you grants, although you say no, I don't need it, but at the end you take it. Okay, so that is why similar it is like that, grants. Okay, so for example, USA gives some grants to India, so it is grants received by the government of India. Clear? So these items are part of revenue receipts. Clear? So please write it, because directly they will ask you which of the following is or part of non-tax revenue. If you know these items, it is easy for you to remember. Okay, it is easy for you to remember. Clear? Now we'll come to capital receipts. Now in capital receipts, what we have to see, in capital receipt there are two components: debt creating capital receipts, which includes borrowing, okay, which includes borrowing, or you can say loan taken by the government of India, okay, which includes borrowing, or you can say loan taken by government of India, okay, loan taken by government of India, okay, which includes borrowing and loan taken by government of India. Next is non-debt creating capital receipt, which includes recovery of loan, okay. So you know that government of India used to give loans. So once loan time period get over or maturity period is over, so they will recover it. So that is called recovery of loan. And second is, you can say, disinvestment proceeds. Clear? So whenever you go for disinvestment of your PSU, so government get the money, that is called disinvestment proceeds. So ultimately they can again ask you capital receipt include what? So capital receipts are of two types: debt creating capital receipt, which include borrowing, okay, and non-debt creating capital receipt, which include recovery of loan and disinvestment proceeds. Okay, so I hope, or I assume that please remember this in class only, because directly question has been asked from this area. Okay, and this is, you can say, one of the easiest question, जिसको मैं कहता हूं फ्री के मार्क्स मिलते हैं भाई, अगर आपने ये रट रखा है। ओके, ये टेबल पूरा क्लियर। सो दैट इज यू कैन से फ्री ऑफ कॉस्ट यू विल गेट अ मार्क्स। ओके, और 2 नंबर आपके पास है फ्री में। ओके, now if you see whatever money you are collecting from revenue receipt or capital receipt, that will become a part of consolidated fund of India. Okay, that will become a part of consolidated fund of India. So whatever revenue receipt plus capital receipt that I am collecting, okay, that will become a part of, you can say, consolidated fund of India. Here I want to tell you one another information, that whenever you go for the disinvestment or whenever government of India is going for disinvestment, that money will be first collected in a special fund known as National Investment Fund, and then the money is transferred to Consolidated Fund of India. Clear? So this is what you have to remember. Clear? Okay. Now one student is saying, sir, no sir, free में कुछ नहीं. See, मेहनत कर रहे हो तो ही आगे मिलेगा ना. So this is what I am telling you. So if you do hard work, then only you will get. So ultimately, when you know that this is the area where you can get the question, so be ready for it. Okay. तो काय को वेट करना. Okay, जब पता है कि यहाँ से क्वेश्चन आना ही आना है. Okay. Clear? Clear? So this is what you have to understood. Okay. So ultimately, disinvestment proceeds will be first collected into National Investment Fund. Remember it. National Investment Fund. So this is what you have to remember. So this money is collected in NIF, that is National Investment Fund. Clear? Now we are coming to expenditure part. So if I talk about expenditure, so there is revenue expenditure. So in revenue expenditure, first of all you will say administrative expenses. Now in administrative expenses it comes salaries, pension, okay, other departmental expenses, okay, other departmental expenses. Now some students are asking, sir, disinvestment और strategic sale and privatization में difference बता दीजिए please. बताऊंगा लेकिन थोड़ी देर में बताता हूँ. Okay, बता दूंगा but थोड़ी देर में बताऊंगा. Okay, because it is a part of different. When we'll do capital market, then I'll tell you. Don't worry about it. Okay. Salaries, pension, and other departmental expenses. Clear? So this is what you have to remember. Number two, if you see what further it includes, so it includes, you can say, money spent on schemes. So there are two types of schemes: central sector schemes. So central sector schemes are those schemes where 100% money is given by Government of India. And number two is centrally sponsored scheme, where money is shared between center and state. Okay, so where money is shared between center and state. Okay, where it is shared between center and states. अरे वो डाउट नहीं बोला था, वो बोला था ब्रेक दूंगा 6:30 पे. ओके फैजान, ओके गलती से डाउट निकल गया था यार मुंह से. क्लियर? तो 6:30 पे आपको ब्रेक दूंगा. गिव मी 5-6 minutes, then I'll give you a break of 20 minutes. So don't worry about it. Clear? One student is asking, sir, FDI कहाँ आएगा? भाई FDI से सरकार थोड़ी कमा रही है यार. ठीक है, FDI इज अ डिफरेंट थिंग दैट विल स्टडी इन BOP, बैलेंस ऑफ पेमेंट। ओके, तो मतलब FDI से जो पैसा आ रहा है वो कई कंसोलिडेटेड फंड ऑफ इंडिया में थोड़ी आ रहा है। सो आई टोल्ड यू दैट वट एवर मनी इज कमिंग इन द फॉर्म ऑफ रिसीट्स, that is going to become a part of you can say कंसोलिडेटेड फंड ऑफ इंडिया। FDI मतलब क्या है, एक प्राइवेट सेक्टर, मतलब एक फॉरेन कंपनी इंडिया की डोमेस्टिक कंपनी में इन्वेस्ट कर रही है या फिर आके कोई अपना नया बिजनेस स्टार्ट कर रही है। क्लियर, तो वो तो FDI है। अब सरकार उसमें कमीशन थोड़ी मार रही है, टैक्सेस ले रही है, वो अलग चीज है। तो मतलब उसमें जो टैक्सेस लेगी वो एक अलग चीज है, बट ऐसा थोड़ी है कि आने से पहले आप कमीशन दो मेरे को। ओके, आने से पहले कमीशन दो, जो फॉर्मेलिटी है, फीस वगैरह ले रही है वो अलग चीज है, बट ये थोड़ी है कि पहले मेरे को इतना % दोगे तभी आने दूंगा। ओके, सो ऐसा नहीं है ना उसमें। क्लियर, सेंट्रल सेक्टर स्कीम एंड सेंट्रली स्पॉन्सर्ड स्कीम। ओके, नेक्स्ट सब्सिडी बिल। Subsidy bill. Next, if I talk about, okay, some has written, Disha Verma has written all. Okay, next, apart from subsidy, you can say defense expenditure. Next is, you can say interest. So we have seen that in capital receipt, government used to take the loan also or borrowing. So whatever loan or borrowing they have taken, so for that they have given, you can say interest payment. Okay, fifth, sixth, if I talk about interest payment, after interest payment, okay, you can say grants given by the government to states, government of India to states as well as others. Others means foreign country. So these are 6 items part of revenue expenditure. Capital expenditure, money spent on infrastructure. Second, if you see, whenever government used to give loans, given by the government of India to others, okay, loans given by the government to others, okay, others means either to state government or anyone else, okay, and government भी loan लेती है, तो whenever they repay their loan amount back or repayment of loan amount, तो अगर आप ये देखोगे, these three items are the part of, you can say, your capital expenditure. Okay, so you will find a simple question that which of the following is a part of revenue expenditure, which of the following are part of capital expenditure. So you have to mug up these things, then only it is going to help you out. Okay, now Asta Chaurasi, I will definitely tell you what is the difference between fiscal policy and budget. So you have to wait. Okay, don't worry, whatever doubt are there, I will clear it. Okay. Okay, so ultimately repayment of loan amount. Okay, so this is what you have to understand. Okay, so they can ask you, now sometimes government used to use, or you can say like in 2021 also they ask another thing. Okay, like one thing they ask, which of the following is or are part of revenue budget. So revenue budget is a term when you take revenue receipt and revenue expenditure together, that is called as revenue budget. Similarly, when you take capital receipt and capital budget to capital expenditure together, that is known as you can say capital budget. So अगर आपसे कल को पूछ रहे which of the following is or are part of revenue budget, so revenue budget is nothing but you can say revenue, expenditure and revenue receipts. So that is revenue budget. But if they ask you a question, what is capital budget or what it includes in capital budget? So it is your capital expenditure and capital receipt. So this is what you have to remember. Clear? This is what you have to remember. Clear? Rakesh, you have one question. So I'll take that doubt. Sir, if government has made hospital and is working for, see, if government has made hospital, okay, and working for free, that is a part of revenue expenditure. Okay. Similarly, Raksha Yadav, sir, a business firm carrying out its work will come under which receipt? See, we are talking about government of India. So we are talking about expenditure of government of India. We are not talking about the expenditure of any business. Clear? Similarly, whatever receipts we are talking about the receipts of government of India, not any other. Okay, so government कहाँ से कमा रही है? अगर मैं उसको simplify करूं कि government कहाँ से कमा रही है, so मैं उसकी बात कर रहा हूं. Okay, तो government कहाँ से कमा रही है, तो मैं उसकी बात कर रहा हूं. Clear? Clear? So this is what you have to understood. Okay. Now one student is asking hush money. I think you are writing husk. It is hush. Hush. Hush money is nothing but that is something else. अगर मैं किसी को चुप कराने के लिए पैसे दे रहा हूँ कि किसी के पास मेरी कुछ इंफॉर्मेशन है जिसको रिवील करते ही that will have impact on my image, that is called hush money. Clear? Clear? So this is the thing. So now we'll meet after a break of some are saying 30 minutes. So not 30, we'll come or we'll meet at, now it is 6:31 in my watch. So we'll meet around 6:50 or 6:51. Okay. So you can say break till 6:50. Okay. So 20-21 minutes का break दे रहा हूँ आपको. So मिलते हैं break के बाद. तो फिर दोबारा कंटिन्यू करेंगे कुछ इंपॉर्टेंट टॉपिक्स जिसमें से डेफिनेटली आपके क्वेश्चंस आएंगे. ओके, सो विल कंटिन्यू आवर टॉपिक ऑफ फिस्कल पॉलिसी. ओके, नाउ so till the time other students joined it, so whatever we have covered, so I told you that there are two components. Number one, receipt part. Number two, expenditure part. Okay, so when I talk about receipts and expenditure, okay, so in receipt part, again if you see in receipt part, so I told you that revenue receipt and capital receipt. Here you will see tax revenue and non-tax revenue. So ultimately here two items are there. Here you will see 5 items. So you can remember in this way. In capital receipt there are again 3 items. One item is known as debt creating capital receipt, that is loan or borrowing. Another 2 items are known as you can say non-debt creating items. So total 3 items. Now when it comes to expenditure, revenue expenditure, here we have 6 items. Okay, and here we have, you can say 3 items. Clear? So this is what you have to remember. Now some of the students are asking about, I have seen your doubts that sir with respect to school. Okay, don't worry, those who are asking that sir topics, सारे topics cover होंगे. Priyank, Soni, don't worry about it. Okay, everything will be covered. So just maintain your patience. Okay, although we have to be little bit fast. Okay, so now if you see, some students are asking for that sir स्कूल को कहाँ लेंगे अगर वो फ्री में पढ़ा रहा है या फिर हॉस्पिटल फ्री में सर्विस. सी दैट विल बिकम रेवेन्यू. सी एक्सपेंडिचर मींस if your expenditure is creating asset or asset creation is there, that is capital expenditure, otherwise revenue expenditure. So I can give you one best example. Okay, so for example, if you Your parents also, like this budget we are talking about, this is a budget of Government of India. Okay, so we are talking about the Government of India budget. Now replace Government of India with your parents. So your parents also frame a budget, okay, for you. So ultimately your parents are also framing a budget. So although I used to give in my normal classes this example, so again I will give you here. Now when your parents are framing a budget for you, so no doubt when they frame a budget for you, so it means they are also allocating money, that this money will be spent on your education, this money will be spent on your, you can say, household activities like food items and all those things. But if suppose you become IAS officer or you are selected as IAS officer, so whatever money spent by your parents on you, that will become capital expenditure, otherwise revenue expenditure. So you can understand in this way, if suppose I invested X amount on school and I am able to recover more than that, okay, more than that, clear, whatever X amount I have spent, more than X amount, then it is capital expenditure, otherwise revenue expenditure. तो अब उस फॉर्म में भी देख सकते हो, okay, उस फॉर्म में भी इसको देख सकते हो. So I hope it is clear to you. Yes or no? Please tell me in comment section. Now in this way, if you see, UPSC used to ask question on that. So already I told you, this is the first type of question they are going to ask you from this table, which of the following are this or this. Or you can say, if suppose they give you an option in this way, that that there is, like, they'll give you one situation based, or you can say like this, ki money spent on MG Narega, okay, loan given by, or you can say Government of India has given loan to for example Haryana state. This is the second statement. And third statement, okay, so first statement is money spent on MG Narega. Number 2, government of India has given loan to Haryana state or any state of your choice. Okay, why to be specific? So for example Haryana state, जिनको नहीं मजा आ रहा हरियाणा से, they can write their own state name. Okay, and number 3, grants given by Government of India to Madhya Pradesh. If suppose these 3 statements are written in front of you and they ask you which of the following is or are part of revenue expenditure, okay, so what will be your answer? Please tell me. If they ask you which of the following is or are part of revenue expenditure, what will be the answer? Please tell me. Okay, please tell me what will be the answer. I am waiting for a reply. Yes, 1 and 3. Now I hope you get the answer. तो अगर आप देखोगे ऐसे क्वेश्चन ही आते हैं आपके एग्जाम में, ओके, तो अगर आप देखोगे ऐसे ही क्वेश्चंस आपके एग्जाम में आते हैं. क्लियर? Okay. Now ultimately you have to remember this thing. So one type of question is this. Okay. Second, what type of question they can ask you? So they can ask you which of the following expenditure is more, which of the is less. तो अगर आप देखोगे हमारे केस में, in case of India, so capital expenditure is less than revenue expenditure, or I can say revenue expenditure is more than capital expenditure. So if I talk about this year budget number, so my total expenditure for this year is 45 lakh crore. So this is the amount which I am going to spend from 1st of April 2023 to 31st March 2024. Okay, so this is the amount I am going to spend in this financial year, that is from 1st April 2023 to 31st March 2024. So this is 45 lakh crore which I am going to spend. Okay, now if you see, if you see, out of 45 lakh crore, 35 lakh crore I am spending on revenue expenditure and 10 lakh crore I am spending on capital expenditure. So it is spent in this way. So capital expenditure is more than revenue expenditure. Oh sorry, revenue expenditure is more than capital expenditure. So in our case, capital expenditure is very less, 10 lakh crore, and revenue expenditure is more, 35 lakh crore. So this is what you have to understand. But if you see your receipts, so it means my receipts are nothing but revenue receipt plus non-debt creating capital receipt, or if I further break it, these receipts are nothing but, you can say, tax revenue plus non-tax revenue plus non-debt capital creating. This includes what? Recovery of loan plus disinvestment. So if I sum total all these items, so it comes out to be 27.2 lakh crores. So I hope it is clear to you what basically I want to tell you. Okay. So ultimately, this part is nothing but, this part is revenue receipt. So I have opened the formula. Okay. And this part is nothing but, this part is non-debt creating capital receipt. So it is 27.2 lakh crores. So ultimately my total expenditure, if you see, so my total expenditure is 45 lakh crores. So against that total expenditure, my total collection of receipts are 27.2 lakh crores. So ultimately there is a gap. Okay. So whatever gap is there, that I am going to take as a borrowing, and that borrowing I am going to take from, you can say, that borrowing comes out to be 17.8 lakh crores. So ultimately when I add 27.2 lakh crore with 17.8 lakh crore, the value comes out to be 45 lakh crores. So ultimately this 17.8 lakh crore is around 34 to 35% of my total expenditure. Clear? So this is what you have to remember. So ultimately the question that can be asked in your exam, okay, is India's budget is surplus or deficit? So our budget is deficit in nature. So it will be surplus when you have more collection of money, that is more receipt. So you can say revenue receipt plus non-tax revenue receipt plus recovery of loan plus disinvestment is equal to more than our total expenditure. Then you can say my budget is surplus in nature. Okay, it means then you don't have to take borrowing. Okay, but right now you have to take borrowing for your budget. So that is why we have budget deficit. So this is what you have to understand. Okay. Clear? This is what you have to understand. Next, they can ask you which expenditure is more. Revenue expenditure is more than capital expenditure. Now if you see, come to the receipt side. So if you see whatever total receipt we have, that is 27.2 lakh crores. So out of that, maximum collection is from, you can say, maximum collection is from tax revenue. Sorry, maximum collection is from tax revenue. तो अगर आप देखोगे इसके अंदर 4 components है, tax revenue, non-tax revenue, recovery of loan and disinvestment. Okay, so there are 4 components. Out of those 4 components, maximum collection is from, you can say, tax revenue, and that is 23 lakh crores, and that is 23 lakh crores that you have to remember. Now further, if you move in tax revenue, as I told you, there are direct tax and indirect tax. Direct tax and indirect tax. So if I see tax wise, so our tax wise more collection is from GST. So our highest collection in case of tax wise is from GST. Number 2, corporate tax. And number 3, personal income tax, or you can say income tax only. ओके तो अगर आप देखोगे कलेक्शन के अंदर भी तो हमारा सबसे ज्यादा कलेक्शन कहां से हो रहा है? जीएसटी से, फिर कॉर्पोरेट टैक्स से, फिर इनकम टैक्स से. सो यू हैव टू रिमेंबर दिस ऑर्डर ऑल्सो. ओके, दूसरा अगर आप देखोगे, दे कैन आस्क यू that if you analyze this thing tax wise, this is the proportion, but if you see direct tax collection is more than indirect tax collection, because when you sum total it, that is second and third, corporate tax and personal income tax, it will be more than your GST. Okay, direct tax collection is more than, you can say, indirect tax collection. Okay, so this is what you have to understood. So these are the simple nature of question that UPSC used to ask in this exam. Okay, so if you remember this thing, so definitely your answer will be correct. Okay, next, if you see, so ultimately if you understood the things properly, so you will become capital expenditure for your family. So I want that all of you get select as a IAS officer. So today it is a civil service day. So again I want to wish you, okay, and I want that you become or you get selected, all of you get selected as officer, okay, as soon as possible. Okay, so that we'll meet with you soon as possible. Now ultimately next what they can ask you, if you have understood this thing, so normally they will ask you the borrowing part. So if you see that in our case we are budget deficit, that is why we are talking about borrowing. So ultimately you must know the source of borrowing. So if you see the source of borrowing, so there are basically 4 sources. Number 1, that you can take borrowing from the public. That is, when I am saying public, it means that we are channelizing the savings in an economy. We are channelizing the savings in an economy. Clear? So this is what you have to understand. Okay, so we are channelizing the savings in an economy, number 1. Number 2, printing of currency by RBI. So this is the second option, but here I want to say you, I am talking about in general what are the options, but if I talk about specific in Indian economy, this option is not with our country. Why? Because we have banned it, and this ban has been imposed by a very famous act known as FRBM Act. Okay, this ban has been, or you can say this is banned by a very famous act known as FRBM Act. So this is what you have to understood. Number 3, when I talk about third option, so you can say Government of India can take borrowing from foreign government. So this is a third option or third choice, that you can take borrowing from foreign government. So for example, Government of India has a choice to take borrowing from any foreign government. Okay. Number 4, Government of India used to take borrowing from foreign international organization. Example, World Bank. Okay, example World Bank. So ultimately अगर आप देखोगे वर्ल्ड बैंक से भी हम पैसे उठाते हैं. ओके और वर्ल्ड बैंक ने काफी सारे प्रोजेक्ट्स पे भी हमारे फंड करे हैं। तो अगर मैं बात करूं वर्ल्ड बैंक की, तो वर्ल्ड बैंक हैज गिवन अस मनी। कैन यू गिव मी एन एग्जांपल? सो फॉर एग्जांपल, like we have micro irrigation development fund. So in that fund, money has been given to us by World Bank as a loan. Similarly, if you see that we are making dedicated freight corridor or freight corridor east and west. So if you see in that, one of the project is funded by World Bank. Okay, so World Bank is also not, when I'm saying funded, it means World Bank has given us loan there also. Okay, similarly we used to take loan from IMF also, Asian Development Bank also, as well as other international organizations. Okay, so ultimately this is what is the thing. So you must know the source of borrowing. Okay, but out of that, if question ask on in general, if they ask in general question that from where we can take the borrowing, okay, so you have to tell that we have 4 choices, but out of that second choice is banned, that is by FRBM Act. Okay, and this is banned since 2006. So 2006 के बाद से हमने कभी भी प्रिंटिंग ऑफ करेंसी नहीं करी है बोरिंग पर्पस के लिए। अब देखो यहाँ पर ट्विस्ट है, अब यूपीएससी आपसे पूछ सकती है प्रिंटिंग ऑफ करेंसी इज बैंड इन इंडिया। अब ये जो स्टेटमेंट है ये पार्शियली करेक्ट है। आप यहां पर बोलोगे प्रिंटिंग ऑफ करेंसी इज बैंड ओनली फॉर बोरिंग पर्पस, वेयर एज प्रिंटिंग ऑफ करेंसी इज अलाउड फॉर अदर पर्पस। अब डीमोनेटाइजेशन के टाइम पे भी तो हमने प्रिंटिंग करी थी। सो ड्यूरिंग डीमोनेटाइजेशन टाइम वी हैव प्रिंटेड अ करेंसी। ओके, तो जहां पर हमने क्या किया था, पुराने नोट्स को चेंज किया था नए नोट्स के साथ, मतलब रिप्लेस किए थे ओल्ड नोट्स ऑफ 1500 विद 2500। सो वहां पर भी हमने प्रिंटिंग करी थी। तो आप बोलोगे प्रिंटिंग हैज बैंड ओनली फॉर बोरिंग पर्पस, दिस इज व्हाट यू हैव टू रिमेंबर। क्लियर? अब अगर मैं बात करूं, these all sources of borrowing are also known as, if I come to the technical name, deficit financing. Okay, these all sources of borrowing are came to be known as deficit financing. So in exam, if they ask you that what are the you can say source of deficit financing, okay, so you have to tell that these are the all 4 sources are source of deficit financing. Now second, if you see now when it comes to printing of currency by the RBI, so we have a technical term known for it, that is known as direct monetized deficit. Now nothing but say in exam they can ask you simple question, what is direct monetized deficit? So you have to tell to the examiner in options, if it is given that printing of currency by RBI for borrowing purpose or for fiscal deficit, yes, you have to tell to the examiner this point, yes, this is called direct monetized deficit. Okay. Similarly, if they ask you what is deficit financing, so you have to tell that these all the sources are known as deficit financing. Okay, so ultimately you know all these things. Okay, now next, as I told you that when it comes to source of borrowing, so in general there are, so in exam if they ask you in general ki what are the source of borrowing for government, so here it is not talking about government of India, so you have to mark all the 4 options or all the 4 statement. But if they ask you what are the source of borrowing for government of India, so this is specific. So when they are asking only for source of government with government, so it means they are not interested, or you can say they are not focusing on government of India, they are focusing in general. Okay, but they are saying that government of India, it means they are specific. Clear? So with government of India only 3 choices are there. So already I told you. Next if you see, as I told you that there are 4 sources. Number 1 is, you can say public, so public means channelizing the savings of the public. Okay, number 2 is, you can say apart from public, second if I come to, it is RBI printing. Third, if I talk about this RBI printing, after that RBI printing, what is the next source? That is foreign government, and last is foreign organizations like World Bank and this. Now next they can ask you the impact of such borrowings. Now when we study about impact, there you will see that they used to ask in that they used to ask one very basic question. जब हम impact की बात करते हैं कि if suppose all the borrowing is taken from the public, what will be the impact? So that will lead to crowding out effect. Okay, crowding out effect. जब मैं crowding out effect की बात कर रहा हूं, it means what? It means what? कि crowding, see government securities वगैरह all I'll cover, don't worry about it. Okay, government security is, you can say, just a way or means to take borrowing. Okay, don't worry about it, we'll cover government securities also in capital market, money market. So when we'll do that. Okay. One student, invincible, you are asking, sir, specific में कौन सा होगा? Okay, so I am not getting what is your doubt. Specific में मतलब जहां पर हम गवर्नमेंट ऑफ इंडिया की बात कर रहे हैं, अगर जब हम बात कर रहे हैं तो गवर्नमेंट ऑफ इंडिया, तो अगर वो स्पेसिफिकली मेंशन कर रहा है क्वेश्चन में गवर्नमेंट ऑफ इंडिया, तब आपको बोलना है कि हमारे पास 3 ही सोर्स है बोरिंग के. ओके, और यू कैन से 3 डेफिशिएंट फाइनेंसिंग वेज. ओके, नाउ क्राउडिंग आउट इफेक्ट मींस व्हाट? जब आप when you have a, you know that savings are limited in nature. Okay, so ultimately these savings are needed by government of India also for its expenditure, and similarly these savings are needed by private sector also for its business activity. So ultimately for this limited savings, both the two parties are dependent. But if suppose majority savings are taken by the government of India, so ultimately private sector is left with less money. That is known as crowding out effect, or that term is known as, or that situation is known as crowding out effect. So simple से याद रखना कि in our economy savings are limited, and for such limited savings two people are looking for. One is government on one side, another is private sector. Okay, so if majority savings are taken by the government of India, okay, so private sector is left with very less money. Okay, so that is called crowding out effect. Okay, now RBI printing, what is the impact? If suppose RBI started printing money for borrowing purpose, so again I'll mention it, that printing is allowed for other purpose, but for borrowing purpose it is not allowed in India. But if suppose assume that ki it is allowed, so in that case what you will see, that it will lead to increase in the money supply in an economy, and whenever money supply will increase, it will lead to increase in prices of a commodity, or you can say inflation. And ultimately inflation also has stages. Okay, so it is a mild inflation, okay, or high inflation. So definitely it will lead to high inflation, and high inflation has consequences. And high inflation has consequences. Clear? So this is the thing. Clear? So this is what you have to understand. Okay, so students are very smart, they are replying answers also, that's very good. So it's a quick revision for you. So ultimately your time for economy revision gets saved. Okay, so ultimately if you listen the class, so at the end you don't need to revise it again, because concepts will be in your mind. Okay, next, foreign government. So when you take money from foreign government or foreign institutions, so there will be a consequences, like there will be effect on exchange rate. Now can anyone tell me what will be the effect? Is it appreciation or depreciation of a currency? Please tell me. I am waiting for your answer. Is it? Yes, hyperinflation, no doubt. So high inflation here means we are talking about the situation of hyperinflation. Is it appreciation or depreciation? Mixed answers are coming. Those who are saying depreciation, can I know why? Okay, I just want to make your concept clear here again. Now, this is the economy. Now, in every economy, there is limited foreign currency. So, for example, assume that there is only one foreign currency, dollar. Forget about any other foreign currency. So, we talk about only one foreign currency. For example, dollar. Okay. So, you know that in every economy, dollars are limited in nature. Okay. So, ultimately assume that my dollars are my economy is receiving, for example, X dollars. So how your economy receive X dollars? For example, if your country is exporting products, if foreign direct investment is coming, similarly you are taking foreign borrowings. So suppose this is the condition. Similarly, same X dollars are going out to your country, that is from your country they are going out. For example, when imports are increasing, or you can say through imports, okay, or you can say you are giving foreign borrowing outside, okay, or you can say Indians are investing outside, that is FDI for other country. Yes or no? So ultimately, if this is a situation that the number of dollars that are coming in your country through these activities, the same number of dollars are going outside. Suppose this is a situation. When this is a situation, so at that time the exchange rate is, for example, 50 rupees. Now suddenly Government of India added more dollars. So for example, Y dollars. So X plus Y is the new supply of dollars. But assume that the dollars which are going outside are X only. So ultimately, whenever supply of dollar increased, whereas on the other hand, the dollars which are going outside, they are either same, constant or reduced. Okay, so in that case, you can say we have more supply of dollar, but demand for dollar going outside is less. When this is a situation, that led to appreciation of currency. But if it is opposite, that dollars are limited in your economy, means supply of dollar is limited, but more are going outside, then it is depreciation. So here, if you see in our example, we have to assume that whatever dollars going outside, that demand is constant. Okay, that demand is constant. Okay, but dollars that are coming in your economy, that has increased as compared to the demand. So demand is constant, but supply of dollar has increased. Why? Because Indian government has taken borrowing from foreign government as well as foreign institution. So that will lead to appreciation of currency. Clear? I hope it is clear to you. So concept must be clear. Okay. Okay. So concept must be clear. So I hope now it is clear when we say appreciation and depreciation. So is there anyone जिसको अभी भी doubt है? Doubt रखेगा तो भाई एग्जाम से बाहर होगा. Doubt नहीं रखने का बिल्कुल भी नहीं. समझे? See here we are just assuming that those who are responsible for sending dollar outside, you can say they are sending constant dollars. But those who are responsible for bringing dollars, okay, so we have seen that has increased. Okay, so then it is appreciation. Clear? Okay. See, we are not showing, we are not interested in what is the impact of depreciation and appreciation on exporter importer. That we will talk. That we will talk in BOP chapter. Don't worry about it. Okay. So this is what, again, a second type of, or you can say, question can be asked. So first they will ask you deficit financing. Second they will ask you the impact. So I hope if question comes with respect to deficit financing, question comes with respect to, you can say, apart from deficit financing, what is direct monetized deficit and what is the impact, you are in a position to answer it. Clear? Now come to another thing. Sometimes they are used to ask you some things like what is FD. So you have to tell that FD is nothing but, you can say, total expenditure minus revenue receipt plus non-debt creating capital receipt. So your total expenditure is, so if I take this year 45 लाख करोड़, काश अपने पास इसका 1% भी होता तो मजा ही अलग होता जिंदगी का. Okay. Okay. So 45 lakh crores minus, this is the value that I have given you, 27.2 lakh crore. So it comes out to be 17.8 lakh crores. So can I say that this is the total borrowing that I have to take? This is the total borrowing that I have to take. Okay, so FD is nothing. So if I say in simple language, FD is the total borrowing needed by the government of India for upcoming financial year. So ultimately, you know that budget is presented on 1st of Feb every year. So like this year the budget is again presented on 1st of Feb 2023. Okay, so 1st Feb 2023. So on 2023, Finance Minister clearly mentioned that this is my total expenditure 45 lakh crore, and for that my receipts are 27.2 lakh crore. So ultimately this is the borrowing that I need. Okay, so it means our running financial year, which starts from, or you can say which start 20 days back, so we are going to take this much amount as a borrowing. So this is my total borrowing. So FD is equal to total borrowing needed for upcoming financial year. Now come to revenue deficit. Revenue deficit is revenue expenditure minus revenue receipts. Okay, revenue expenditure is revenue expenditure minus revenue receipt. Now if you see my total revenue, my total revenue expenditure is 35 lakh crores. Okay, my total revenue receipt, which include tax revenue and non-tax, so it is around 25 lakh crores. So when I subtract it, it comes out to be 10 lakh crores. So it means that for my total, you can say for my revenue expenditure also I have to take a borrowing. Okay, for my revenue expenditure also I have to take a borrowing. So ultimately I can say how much borrowing is needed, that is 10 lakh crores. For my revenue expenditure also I have to take a borrowing, and that is 10 lakh crores. So ultimately can I say that out of 17.8 lakh crores, 10 lakh crore will be given to revenue expenditure, and I am now left with 7.8 lakh crores which will be utilized for capital expenditure. So आपको इसको ऐसे भी समझना पड़ेगा कि टोटल मैं कितनी बोरिंग ले रहा हूं 17.8 लाख करोड़, उसमें से 10 लाख करोड़ मेरी कहां जा रही है, रेवेन्यू एक्सपेंडिचर के लिए. बाकी जो बच गई 7.8 लाख करोड़, दैट आई यूज फॉर कैपिटल एक्सपेंडिचर. क्लियर? क्लियर? ओके. So this is what you have to understood. Next, if you see next, they can ask you effective revenue deficit. So if you see effective revenue deficit, that was introduced in 2012. Okay, that was introduced in 2012. So what is the formula for effective revenue deficit? RD minus grants given to states for asset creation. Okay, RD minus grants given to states for asset creation. So ultimately whatever grants I am giving for asset creation means which are going to give me returns, but not to me, but not to government of India, but to state government. Okay, grants given to the states for asset creation. Okay, so whatever expenditure, or you can say whatever amount or grants are given, so you know that grants are part of revenue expenditure. So from that we take grants and we exclude it from revenue deficit. Whatever value comes out, that is known as effective revenue deficit. Now here you have to see the relationship. FD will always be more than RD. So you can say FD either more than RD or equal to RD. But RD cannot be more than FD. ये चीज याद रखना हमेशा. क्योंकि okay. Similarly, RD is always or equal to ERD. So इनके बीच में ये relation है. So you have to remember this relation also. Okay. So you have to remember this relation also. Clear? जब भी मैं पैसे की बात करता हूं ना कि काश इसका 1% भी हो ये सब हो, तो आप लोग लिखना लग जाते हो कमेंट में केमन आइलैंड. I think I have to change my place. From Cayman Island I'll go to some other island now. Clear? नहीं तो you make me famous like this कि वो एक इंस्टीट्यूट में एक सर है इकोनॉमी वाले, वो केमन आइलैंड चले गए. Okay, नहीं तो otherwise if suppose Khan sir is seeing this video, so definitely he'll going to ask me after class कि भाई ये केमन आइलैंड क्या है. Okay, so ultimately यहाँ पर हमें चेंज करनी पड़ेगी लगता है जगह. केमन आइलैंड के अलावा हमें कहीं और भी जाना पड़ेगा. Okay, now moving further. Some are saying Kuril Island. Okay. No, Kuril नहीं जाएंगे यार हम. कोई अच्छी जगह जाएंगे. Don't worry. Okay. Okay. So ultimately remember this relation. This is very important. Now come to primary deficit. Now primary deficit is FD minus interest payment. So if you see, basically the value of primary deficit will tell. Some are saying Thailand. Okay, Thailand is, you can say, place for youngsters. It is not for play for me. Okay, तो मेरी एज जा चुकी है वहां जाने की. Clear? Okay, नॉर्थ कोरिया क्यों भेज रहे हो भाई मुझे? Clear? So ultimately PD is equal to FD minus interest payment. Okay, so यहां पर हम बात करते हैं कि जो मैं टोटल बोरिंग ले रहा हूं उस टोटल बोरिंग में से कितनी अमाउंट मैं इंटरेस्ट पेमेंट के लिए दे रहा हूं. मींस आउट ऑफ द टोटल बोरिंग हाउ मच अमाउंट आई एम गिविंग टू फॉर इंटरेस्ट पेमेंट. सो दिस इज व्हाट यू हैव टू रिमेंबर. सो आउट ऑफ द टोटल बोरिंग हाउ मच amount is given for interest payment. So here you have to remember that value. Okay. Clear? So this is what. See, if now there can be two things. If I take hypothetical value, one is PD is equal to 0. Another is PD is equal to FD. So which one is good for the economy? Please tell me in comment section. Okay, some are saying sir अभी तो cool dude दिख रहे हैं हम. Okay. Age होगी age. Okay, I look like Arjit Singh. Okay. See, right now I am taking your class from very happening place. So if you have visited to Bangalore, that is Kormangla. So where you can say KSG center is in Bangalore also, which is surrounded by so many happening items. So if you get a time after class, search Kormangla, then you will understand. And today is you can say Friday also. Okay. Okay. So I have given you one question. Now come to the topic. Okay. So I have given you which one is good for economy. Is it FD? Is it PD is equal to 0 or FD, or PD is equal to FD? See, if PD is equal to 0, it means what? That whatever total borrowing that I have taken, so 17.8 lakh crore, that has been spent in interest payment. That has been spent in interest payment. So PD is equal to 0 is not good for economy. But if PD is equal to FD, it means whatever total borrowing I have taken, I don't have to pay any interest payment. So ultimately, the more the value of PD is near to FD, it is good for economy. But if it is near to 0, then it is not good for economy. Clear? Clear? अरे टेंशन मत लो, आज खत्म करके जाऊंगा आपके टॉपिक, चाहे बज जाए रात के 12, चाहे बज जाए 2, ओके, खत्म करके ही जाएंगे, चाहे हमें पढ़ते पढ़ते यार सोना पड़ जाए, पढ़ाते पढ़ाते. ओके. Clear? So ultimately remember this thing. Okay. Now come to next part of the topic. Okay. So this is what you have to remember. So ultimately RD, अगर RD 0 होगा, that is good for economy. But अगर PD is 0, that is not good for economy. Remember this thing. Okay. PD अगर 0 होगा, that is not good for economy. RD अगर 0 है, तो that is good for economy. Clear? So remember these things. Clear? Okay. So this is what you have to remember. Now moving further, if I talk about if you see, so again I summarize for you. So number 1, you have to remember you can say receipts and expenditure. So one question asked from this. I also told you the numbers also, that which is more, which is less. So you have to remember this thing. But remember another thing which I forgot. So I introduce now. अगर आप revenue expenditure देखोगे, our major revenue expenditure is on interest payment. Number 1. Number 2, it is central sector scheme. And number 3, centrally sponsored scheme. So in this way we are spending on revenue expenditure also. So ultimately if they ask you overall schemes, if we club these schemes together, then you will say that expenditure on scheme is more than interest payment. Otherwise, if I break these things, like as it is given in your budget also, so their interest payment has maximum expenditure, then central sector scheme, and then centrally sponsored scheme. So this is what you have to remember. Then we have seen the source of borrowing. Then we have seen its impact also. Third, we have understood the concept of FD, RD, ERD and PD. So I told you that PD must not be 0 because it is bad for economy. RD must be 0 because it is good for economy. And the value of FD will always be more than RD or equal to RD So RD cannot be more than FD. Remember this thing. And similarly, RD is always more than ERD or equal to ERD. So now you understood this relation also, I think. Okay, I hope it is clear to everyone. Okay. Clear? So this is what you have to remember. Now come to next part. Now there is a concept of public debt. Now in public debt there are two components, internal debt and external debt. Now here first of all understand the word, what is public, what is debt. Okay, first understand word what is debt. See, okay, see if you ask what is debt, see now here when I talk about FD, FD is for future borrowings that I am going to take. Debt means whatever already I have taken. So it means 1st Feb. So if suppose today is 1st Feb, finance minister is presenting that I need this much borrowing. So it means she is talking about FD. So Nirmala Sitharamanji is talking about FD. But if she is talking about that this is the already borrowing which my country or which my government has taken in past, either by my same government or by some other government, but still current government is paying the interest payment for that, that is known as debt. Okay, nahi samajh aaya to understand like this, ki now you started handling your father company. So when you started handling your father company, so you make a budget for your company. So you will tell I need this much borrowing to run the company. But you have seen that already your father, grandfather and your grandfather, father, you can say forefather has taken some borrowing for which your company is still paying debt, or for which company is still paying interest payment. That is known as debt. Okay, so this is a debt. So ultimately when we talk about public debt, so I am coming to the word public also. When I talk about internal debt, we used to maintain the record of what government of India has taken from whatever debt that government of India has taken from internal sources. So in internal sources we have two sources. One is public plus RBI, printing of currency. So ultimately there may be possibility that in 2000 whoever is running the government, they have taken money from the RBI by printing and they have promised to return it after 30 years. So it means still that money, still the current government is paying interest for that. Yes or no? Or although printing has been banned after 2006. Okay. So ultimately internal source. External source here means government of India has taken money from foreign government and foreign institutions, as well as you can say resident of India. So people like you and me has taken money from non-resident. So we used to maintain that record also in external debt. Okay. Now here you are maintaining the record of public also. That is why we call it public debt. But only in that case where you can say that money has been taken by Indian person, that is from outside. Clear? Is it clear? Is it clear? Please tell me in comment section. ओके तो अगर आप देखोगे यहां पर जो रेजिडेंट ऑफ इंडिया है, ओके, दे हैव टेकन मनी फ्रॉम नॉन रेजिडेंट. सो दिस इज व्हाट यू हैव टू रिमेंबर. नाउ व्हाई वी इंक्लूड दिस थिंग? बिकॉज अगर if any Indian person defaulted who has taken money from outside, then then there is a contingent liability on the government of India to return that money. Okay. Then there is a contingent liability on the government to return that money. Okay. Clear? So every time if you see, if suppose you need a borrowing, you have to take permission from the finance ministry. Then only you can take borrowing from outside. Although when you are taking money from within the country, there you don't have to take permission. Okay. But whenever you are planning to take borrowing from outside, you have to take permission from Government of India. Okay. So this is what you have to remember. Clear? And whenever Government of India has given you permission, so it means they are taking guarantee for that that this person will return the money. Otherwise liability comes on the Government of India. Clear? So that is why we include. So अगर question आए public debt क्या है, तो public debt includes internal debt and external debt. So in internal debt, we maintain a record that how much borrowing has been taken by the Government of India, or how much past borrowing or debt is there on Government of India from internal sources. Whereas in external debt, there are two components: borrowing taken by Government of India from foreign organizations or foreign government, plus resident of India has taken borrowing from non-resident. And this record of public debt is managed by or maintained by RBI. So there was a debate also that from RBI this task has to be given to a special body known as Public Debt Management Authority. But government formed this authority, but this task is still with the RBI. Why? Because RBI is a statutory body, you can say, which is made by RBI Act, but Public Debt Management Authority is not a statutory body, so it is a, you can say, passed by executive order. That is why debt of Government of India, or you can say public debt, is a very sensitive information which cannot be given to anyone which is not having any legal backing. Clear? So that is why this information, or you can say, it is not given to public debt. Clear? That is why it is not given to PDMA. I hope it is clear to you. Now come to the next thing. FRBM Act. Now before I talk about FRBM Act, so we have seen that when we talk about budget, so we talk about receipts, expenditure, borrowing, that is which we are going to take. But when we talk about public debt, so we are talking about debt, or you can say already borrowing taken. So this is the new borrowing that we are going to take. Public debt is already borrowing taken. So no doubt, whatever 17.8 lakh crores that we are going to take, okay, is going to become debt next year. Okay, so when next year budget will be presented, so it is going to become a debt next year, or you can say part of public debt. Clear? Now apart from this, you will see that whatever we have studied in receipt part, okay, that will come under Consolidated Fund of India. Similarly, government used to raise money through some saving schemes like Provident Fund, Sukanya Samriddhi Yojana. That money become a part of public account. Okay, that become a part of public account. So that money is not a part of, you can say, Consolidated Fund of India. Similarly, there are other saving schemes like Kisan Vikas Patra. Okay, plus you know that government used to collect money through some schemes like Atal Pension Fund or Atal Pension Yojana. Okay. Similarly, we have talked about in agriculture, Pradhan Mantri Kisan Man Dhan Yojana. So there also money is collected. Okay. There also money is collected. So all that money, as I told you, it goes to pension fund, and ultimately it is a part of public account. Like provident fund is collected in provident fund first, and then it is a part of public account. So ultimately whatever money is collected by the government through its multiple schemes in public account, they are known as other central liabilities. Other central liabilities. So this is what you have to remember. So they are known as what? Other central liabilities. Clear? So ultimately if you see, Government of India, okay, or RBI used to present one annual report with a title known as Public Debt and Other Central Liabilities. So you must know this thing. Okay. So report is annually presented by RBI, and that is known as Public Debt and Other Central Liabilities. Clear? Okay. Some are saying Ladli Yojana. Okay. Yes, you can say that also. Okay. Clear? Some are advising, sir, health is wealth, please work out. Definitely if I get a time, I'll have workout, don't worry about it. Clear? Okay. But you get selected first. Okay. Please tell me any doubt. I don't want you carry any doubt. Okay. Now moving further. So other central liabilities. Next. If you see, Ronaldo, definitely I'll play. I'll play football with you once you get selected. Okay. Now come to FRBM Act. So first of all, FRBM Act. So FRBM stands for Fiscal Responsibility and Budget Management Act. So full form is Fiscal Responsibility and Budget Management Act. So this act was introduced in 2003. Okay, 2003, number 1. And we started implementing it from 2004, number 2. Number 3, this act has some salient features. Now what are those salient features? Number 1, it talks about target. That is target in terms of FD and RD. Target in terms of FD and RD. So if you see, okay, so if you see that FD and RD, okay, if you see FD and RD, so FRBM Act used to give a targets in terms of FD and RD. So ultimately in 2003, initially when this act was introduced in the parliament, so they have given a target for FD, that is 3% of GDP, and RD target is 0. So in 2003-4 they have given that government must achieve a 3% of GDP by 2009-10. Similarly, RD must be 0, which has to be achieved again by the same time period, 2009-10. So this is what you have to understood. So ultimately, if you observe this number, what it says, that government can take a total borrowing, but that total borrowing must not exceed 3% of GDP. Clear? Number 1. Number 2, whatever total borrowing that you are taking, that must be utilized only for capital expenditure, not for revenue expenditure. So this is what it is talking about. Clear? Clear? So this is what you have to remember. Clear? Okay. So I hope it is clear to you. Okay. Now second thing that you will focus here, if you see, second thing, it imposes ban on printing of currency. So already I told you, printing of currency for borrowing purpose since 2006. So ultimately, if you want to borrow money by printing, okay, if you again want to borrow money through printing, so you have to amend the FRBM Act. Number 3, it imposes limit on the government with respect to other central liabilities. Okay, it imposes limit कि गवर्नमेंट कितना सेंट्रल लायबिलिटीज को ले सकती है. थर्ड, नंबर 4, गवर्नमेंट हैज टू सबमिट क्वार्टरली रिपोर्ट with respect to receipts and expenditure. With respect to receipts and expenditure. So this is again you have to remember. Clear? Clear? So I want that everyone should focus on, I am seeing your comments, so please focus on, you can say concept, that is more important than you fight for gym or not. Okay, that is not important. Clear? So ultimately quarterly report has to be given. Okay, so when I am saying quarterly report, it means quarterly report with respect to what is the status of receipts and expenditure that you are going to collect in financial year. Okay, so for example, if I am saying that 45 lakh crore has to be spent in 1 year, so it does not mean that you spend 45 lakh crores. Okay, it does not mean that you spend 45 lakh crores in one go. Okay, so आप एक महीने में नहीं खर्च करोगे, उसको पूरे 12 महीने के अंदर खर्च करोगे, that is in a complete financial year. Okay, next, if you see, fifth, government has to submit 3 annual report. Now, one annual report is with respect to fiscal policy statement. Another is fiscal policy strategy statement. And third is macroeconomic framework statement. Macroeconomic framework statement. So you have to submit these 3 reports, annual report. And the 4th report we added in 2012, and that is known as midterm expenditure framework statement. Okay, so there are total 4 reports. But if suppose UPSC asks you how many annual reports were there initially, so initially 3 reports: fiscal policy statement, fiscal policy strategy statement, and macroeconomic framework. And the 4th report was added in 2012, and that is known as macroeconomic framework, sorry, midterm, not macro, midterm expenditure framework. Midterm expenditure framework. Clear? So this is what you have to remember. Okay. Next. Next. नहीं चल रहा क्या इसे? एक बार चेक करो जरा. Okay. Next. So this is with respect to FRBM Act. Now to review the FRBM Act, NK Singh panel or committee was formed by the Government of India in 2016, and it has recommended that rather than, or you can say, government must focus on debt to GDP ratio. Debt to GDP ratio, and he has given the concept of general debt. Now general debt is nothing but, you can say, debt of, you can say, central government debt plus state government debt, central government debt and state government debt. So when I talk central government debt and state government debt, it means central government debt is, okay, central government debt plus state government debt together known as general debt. So N.K. Singh said in 2016 it is 68% of GDP. So ultimately states and center together has a debt of 68%. Clear? See, 15th Finance Commission head is also, okay. So some are saying bottle हटाइए, so हटा देते भाई. Okay. So if you see 15th Finance Commission head is also N.K. Singh, but there is separate committee that is known as N.K. Singh committee. So he has talked about debt to GDP ratio. So he said that rather than focusing on future borrowings, no doubt you focus on future borrowings, but you have to take care of past borrowings also, which you have already taken past it. So he came out with a number that the past borrowing of both center and state together known as general debt, so it comes out to be 68% of GDP in 2016-17 when he has given the report. So he wants that it has to be reduced to 60% of GDP by 22-23. Clear? So this is what recommendation he has given. Clear? Now come to last point, then we'll shift to new chapter. This is monetary policy. Now when I talk about, you can say budget, if you see that after 2015 there were so many changes made in budget. सबसे पहले what we have done, railway budget is merged with general budget. So earlier before 2015-16 you can see that two separate budgets are there, railway budget and general budget, but now there is only one single budget. Number two apart from this railway budget, what another changes? Advancement of budget date, so ultimately earlier budget was presented 3rd or 4th week of Feb, but now it is presented on 1st of Feb every year. Number 3, government has removed vote on account, or you can say vote on account concept is removed. So this is a part of polity. Vote on account has removed. Okay, so vote on account is nothing, but earlier budget used to be, or budget used to took a time of 50-60 days. So ultimately budget is presented, or budget process goes till the month of, you can say, April, and automatically financial year start from 1st April. So department needs money to spend. So what government used to do, or what parliament used to do, they give 1/6 of the budget as a vote on account. Clear? Or you can say 1/6 of the total budget. So that is known as vote on account. Clear? Clear? Next, we have done away with plan and non-plan expenditure. So earlier there were concept of plan and non-plan, but now there is no concept of plan and non-plan expenditure. Clear? So this is what you have to remember. And in 2021 we introduced e-paper or e-budget, that is paperless budget. So tabs are given. Okay, paperless budget. So this is what you have to remember. Okay, now last concept here, or last fact here. You know that financial year is starts from 1st April to 31st March. So there is a demand that this financial year must be shifted to calendar year. So calendar year is 1st January to 31st December. So that is called calendar year. So there is a, you can say, recommendation of one committee which says that it should be shifted from 1st April to 1st January, that is 1st January to 31st December, and the name of that committee is Shankracharya Committee. Okay. So name of that committee is Shankracharya Committee. Clear? So this is what with respect to fiscal policy. So if you have any doubt, you can ask. So I'll give you 2-3 minutes. So you want to ask any doubt, you can ask with respect to only fiscal policy. So that you want to know some concept, I'll reply you. Financial sector legislative reforms commission is important for your you can say Kamal Nayan is important for your mains. You will never find any question from this. So if you have mains marathon there, I'll tell you. Shankracharya Committee has given recommendation that financial year, your current financial year starts from 1st of April to 31st March. So it should be shifted from here to, that is you can shift it to you can say 1st January to 31st December. Clear? Now okay. Don't worry, anonymous man, everything will be cleared. Sir, my growth chapter is weak. How much time it will take to start? कोई नहीं, अभी स्टार्ट हो जाएगा. आप सारे सुनोगे तो आपके लिए बेटर है, बिकॉज इकोनॉमी इज यू कैन से इंटरलिंक्ड. ओके, क्लियर? Any doubt you can ask. See, Geeta Krishnan committee has nothing to do with you can say Kamal Nayan. So we are talking about fiscal policy. It is with respect to, you can say, frauds and all those. Clear? Ultimately, when it comes to Geeta Krishnan, so no doubt they talked about expenditure reforms. So ultimately it's again suggestions. So nothing to do in this topic. So again मेंस के लिए important है. जो आप बोल रहे हो फाइनेंशियल सेक्टर लेजिस्लेटिव रिफॉर्म्स और ये सब गीता कृष्णन, दे आर इंपॉर्टेंट फॉर मेंस ओनली. Okay, Kamal Nayan, I hope you understood. Okay. Don't worry, Invincible, I'll tell you the factual part also, index and all those, wherever it is needed. Okay. So I'm seeing your doubts. Clear. So now we'll move further to the next topic. Clear. See, Ritika Mandal, MG Narega is not going to generate revenue for the government. See, I hope, I understand why you are asking this question. Again, come to your basic concept. You are thinking that revenue asset is created for a individual, means government is giving salary to the person. But here we are talking about that, is it creating return for the government of India? So we are talking about, you can say, returns for the government of India, not we are talking about returns for the individual. तो अगर सरकार मुझे पैसे दे रही है, मैं उसके बदले थोड़ी दे रहा हूँ सरकार को पैसे. Okay, so ultimately we are talking about the returns for government of India, not with respect to individuals. Clear? What is your doubt, anonymous man? Okay, agriculture year. See, basically when you are saying that financial year must be shifted to calendar year, the purpose is to link your budget session, or you can say budget, with agriculture year only. अभी क्या होता है, अगर मैं आपको 2 मिनट में समझाऊं, अभी क्या है कि 1 अप्रैल को आपका फाइनेंशियल ईयर स्टार्ट होता है, तो डिपार्टमेंट्स तक पैसे जो आते हैं ना, मई जून तक आने शुरू होते हैं. अल्टीमेटली जब वो स्कीम्स इंप्लीमेंट करते हैं तब तक खरीफ सीजन निकल जाता है. ओके, तो अगर यही जनवरी 1 को मिल जाए पैसे, तो अल्टीमेटली दे कैन हैव अ बेटर मैनेजमेंट. क्लियर? दैट इज व्हाई इट इज demanded by Shankaracharya committee to Shankaracharya committee to shift to calendar year. Clear? Okay. See, impact I have already covered, but still I tell you that whenever you are taking from foreign organization, it is going to appreciate your currency. Okay.